It was exactly midnight when those headlights rolled up at the end of our gravel driveway, three black trucks crawling in like they owned the place. Their engines weren't just idling, they were humming that low, menacing tune that tells you right away, yeah, something bad's about to go down. You ever have that moment where your gut drops and your mind's just like, well, damn, I guess this is happening? That was me standing at the window watching these linebacker-sized silhouettes pile out tattoos catching the porch light. One of them shouted, "Time's up, old man. HOA says you're done here." I swear for a second I thought we'd wandered into a bad mob movie, only the goons were from the Homeowners Association. Inside the farmhouse, my grandpa didn't even twitch. He just kept wiping down his old M1 Garand as if someone was going to hand out medals for the cleanest rifle at 1 a.m. "Gangsters," he grumbled, then gave this half grin that told me he'd seen much, much worse. That's cute. And just like that, chills full body all the way to my toes. He tossed on his faded marine jacket, patted my shoulder, and whispered, "Stay behind me, son. Let's remind him what a real homeowner's defense looks like." That night, the HOA thought they were sending muscle to scare a farmer. They had no clue they'd just declared war on a Marine who built this place with his own bare hands. Now, before I get too far into how this all spiraled, and trust me, it gets wild, drop a comment with where you're from and what time it is right now. And you might as well subscribe because this isn't just a story about revenge or even justice. This is a story about what happens when you push a stubborn man too far and he decides to push back. See the Whitaker farm. For most of my life, it was the kind of spot you see on an old-timey postcard. Green hills, rust-red barns that pond catching sunrise like it was made of glass. My grandpa Frank Whitaker started working this land when he was 16. He went off, fought in Korea, came back with half a smile and a 1,000-yard stare, and turned raw wilderness into a home. He always said the soil remembers who treats it right. After my dad passed, I left 20 years of City Life Suits keyboards, endless emails to move back and help him out. My hands got soft over the years, but working beside Grandpa, that made me feel honest again. Sore, sunburnt, but honest. We dug fence posts, fed cattle, and for a while it was as close to peace as life gets. Then Silver Oaks Estates moved in across the ridge, a place with pastel mansions, fake fountains, and a giant gate to keep the right kind of people in. Their HOA loved talking about order, appearance, and community harmony. Grandpa just called it a plastic paradise. At first, they seemed fine barbecues, wine tastings, fake smiles, and finger waves every time they drove by. But you know how something starts to stink before you can see the rot. It was like that. First came the letters. "Dear Mr. Whitaker, your barn sits too close to our new walking trail. Your rooster violates our noise restrictions. Your cattle fence is unsightly." Each signed every time in the same prissy script, Martha Whitcomb, HOA President. Now Martha was the type who wore pearls to walk her poodle and thought a clipboard gave her divine authority. Her smile was more threat than greeting, if you know what I mean. One afternoon, she rolls up in her white Lexus tires, crackling like warning shots. I was fixing the gate when she got out all business. "Mr. Whitaker, we need to talk about your land boundaries." Grandpa appeared, wiping grease from his hands. "Do we?" he asked. She started in on how the HOA's new park plans meant moving the trail 40 feet right into our pasture. Grandpa let her finish, then just said, "You mean my pasture?" She tried to spin it. "It'd be easier for everyone if you signed the easement. We'll maintain it. You're helping the community." Grandpa just leaned on the fence, calm as ever. "Ma'am, I fought in a war for this country. I didn't come home to surrender a single inch of it." Martha's smile froze. "I'd hate for this to turn unpleasant." Then she turned and left, heels snapping like pistol shots on the gravel. That night, Grandpa sat by the window, black coffee in hand, staring out into the dark. "They think kindness is weakness," he muttered. "Let's see how they handle boundaries they can't buy." From then on, things got weird. Spray-painted arrows on the grass, wooden stakes hammered into the ground. Construction notices staked out front county office said they were just intent notices, nothing official. Grandpa wasn't fazed. "Keep your phone charged," he said. Harassment got worse. Someone dumped old tires by our drive drones buzzing overhead at night. Our mailbox yanked out with a note, "Sell now before it gets worse." I wanted to call the sheriff, but Grandpa just shook his head. "Sheriff's just a man with a badge. These folks need a reminder of something older than law respect." He quietly started locking things down. New locks, motion lights, cameras. Put up a sign. "Private property trespassers will leave in worse condition than they arrived." I said it was overkill. He winked. "Sometimes you teach manners the old-fashioned way." Martha came back this time with 2 legal consultants. One had pain tattooed across his knuckles, the other was hiding a shoulder holster like he was subtle. "Mr. Whitaker," she cooed, "sign the easement or the HOA will take action." Grandpa looked up slow and steady. "Lady, you're about to learn something about taking action on another man's land." She just scoffed and stormed off. That night, Grandpa pulled out a battered chest medals, a compass, a notebook labeled Defensive Perimeter Protocol, diagrams, angles, traps. "You think they'll really come?" I asked. He didn't blink. "They already have. They're just waiting for dark." Thunder rolled over the hills, and I watched his silhouette by the window, a statue carved out of war and memory. After that storm, I woke up to engine sounds again, only this time it wasn't thunder. 2 trucks out by the far fence, headlights idling. Grandpa was already up, thermos in hand. "Don't move," he whispered. "They're measuring courage." Sure enough, they peeled off after a minute, but their tire tracks cut deep into our grass, his grass. Next day, I found boot prints behind the barn, cigarette butts by the fence line. "Steel toes," Grandpa grunted. "Sloppy." "Good." Then a thick envelope arrived, no return address, just the HOA logo. Inside, final warning. Cease all resistance. Failure to comply will result in forced removal, legal and extra-legal. Grandpa read it, folded it, slid it in his pocket. "They've gone and said the quiet part loud. Makes it easier for the sheriff later." I wanted to run to town, but he stopped me. "You don't fight shadows by running to daylight," he said. "Wait till they trip over themselves in the dark." That night I heard him in the barn, hammering metal testing wires, setting up floodlights, moving with the patience of someone who's already decided how this ends. Word spread quick: Silver Oaks reclaiming parts of Whitaker property, rumors flying about the HOA hiring private security. Dale, our mechanic, pulled me aside. "If they show up again, call me. I'll bring my camera." Grandpa overheard and just grinned. "Don't worry, Dale. We're filming our own movie." He showed me the inconveniences he'd set up. Motion sensors, tripwires, spikes under the dirt. Nothing deadly, just enough to make life memorable. Back in Korea, he said we learned to win before the enemy arrived, not by killing, by preparing. 3 nights later, just past midnight, motion lights flared. I ran out barefoot. 3 men, one by the gate, one on the fence, one at the generator box. Cut the power torch, the feed shed, make it look like an accident. Grandpa's voice thundered out of the dark. Son hit the switch. I did, and the whole farm lit up like Vegas. Every light, every siren Grandpa had stashed. The men froze. Then the Whitaker spa welcomed them. They tumbled into an old drainage ditch, knee-deep in muck and manure. Grandpa stepped out, flashlight in hand, rifle across his arm, not pointed but close enough. "Sit tight, boys. Sheriff's on his way." One cursed and pulled a lighter and gas can. Grandpa fired not at him but at the ground by his feet. The man screamed, dropped everything. "Fire and farming don't mix," Grandpa said. "Maybe you'd know that if you ever grew anything but trouble." Sheriff arrived cuffed. The would-be tough guys took statements. The news spread fast. Videos went viral, headlines everywhere. HOA thugs failed to intimidate farmer. Martha tried to spin it rogue contractors, she claimed, but one of them talked. He said she paid them cash, promised legal immunity. The HOA board panicked, half resigned. The rest begged Martha to step down. She refused, raging at cameras. Grandpa sipped lemonade on the porch, grinning. They haven't even realized that was the polite version. I asked what he meant. He just winked. Every lesson has levels. They're about to take the advanced course. Here's the twist that changed everything. Grandpa pulled out old surveys and deeds, called up Dale, who was also a surveyor. Turns out Silver Oaks' fancy park utility shed and 2 corner homes were built over our property line by 12 feet. Looks like they've been living rent-free, Dale joked. You could sue, or better yet, charge rent. That night, Grandpa hammered a sign at their gate. Notice of unpaid occupancy. Portions of Silver Oaks estates are currently located on Whitaker property. Monthly land use fees now apply. By dawn, Martha showed up purple with fury. This is defamation, Grandpa handed her the survey. Not if it's true, ma'am. County will back it. You could see her soul leave her body. After that, the HOA scrambled surveyors, lawyers, a PR consultant. But Grandpa was steps ahead, proof sent to the local news. Headline the next day, HOA, illegally built on veterans' land, faces lawsuit. Martha called for an emergency meeting. Grandpa walked in, Marine uniform, pressed metals gleaming. He spread out the maps. You tried to take what wasn't yours. Now you'll pay rent or move your fences. Board members moved to suspend the HOA. Just like that, Silver Oaks' mighty community harmony dissolved. But it wasn't over. Grandpa knew it. Snakes don't die when you cut off the head. They just wait for Sunday. Sure enough, one late October night, I spotted shadows by the barn. 4 men, crowbars, jerry cans, tools, faces covered. Grandpa flicked the lights, alarms, and sprinklers roaring to life. They panicked, slipping in mud and manure. One pulled a gun, fired a shot in the air. Grandpa didn't flinch. Fire again and you'll be spending 5 years for bringing a gun to a trespass. Your choice. When the sheriff arrived, the men were covered in muck faces, red with humiliation. One spat, "Martha's gonna ruin you." Grandpa just grinned. "Son, you're the one in cuffs standing in cow crap." Next morning, we found out why they'd risked it. Martha had embezzled 60 grand from the HOA, stashing it away in shell companies. She was desperate, fighting not for the community, but to hide her crimes. The sheriff had enough. Martha was charged with fraud, conspiracy, and attempted coercion. Her husband resigned from the HOA. The neighborhood voted to suspend the HOA for good. The farm turned into a local legend. Folks stopped by to see the battlefield, dropping off pies and thank you notes. Grandpa just watched the sunrise, sipping coffee. Standing your ground isn't just about land. It's about dignity. Once you give that up, you never get it back. And if you're wondering if Martha ever tried to come back, well, let's just say after the trial, the Silver Oaks sign was hauled away, their fountains shut off, lawns went brown, and the HOA was gone for good. The county called Grandpa to testify at the restitution hearing. He stood up in court, steady and calm, handed the judge every document, every recording. Martha blustered about community values, but the evidence burned right through her words. The judge ruled HOA dissolved, fines paid, boundaries restored. We walked out into the sunlight, reporters swarming. Grandpa just said, "I didn't win. The land did." But here's the thing, the real lesson, it sneaks up on you. After all the lawsuits, the viral clips, the interviews with TV crews, what stuck with me wasn't the fight. It was what Grandpa said sitting on the porch that last night. You don't fight evil with rage. You fight it with patience, proof, and a good fence. Because in the end, the soil remembers. He pressed his old compass into my hand. Every man needs true north. Mine was always this farm. Make sure yours isn't a screen or a dollar sign. So here we are, fence-mended fields, green the farm at peace. But the truth is, this story isn't just about my grandpa or Silver Oaks. It's about what happens when dignity's on the line and someone's stubborn enough to defend it inch by inch, even if all the odds say roll over. Because in the end, the HOA brought threats. Grandpa brought patience. They came for conquest, but left as students crawling home to rethink what power actually means. If you've ever had to fight for what's right, your land, your voice, your dignity, know you're not alone. Justice takes time, but it does show up sometimes in muddy boots and a crooked grin. So tell me, what would you have done if the HOA came for your land? Where do you draw the line between power and principle? Share your story below. And if you believe in standing your ground, go ahead, hit subscribe. Around here, every fence line's got a story worth telling.